It was evident right from the start of the game that the young Falcons would be in the match all the way as they opened brilliantly. Level at 34 all at quarter time, they were still very much in the match at the long break, although behind 2 points, 64-62. However, the home team's bad start to the season looked likely to continue as the Giants raced to a 9-point lead early in the third term, but the tenacious Falcons put on an amazing spurt to quickly close the gap and even take the lead. With the scores locked at 98 apiece, the final stanza promised everything and neither team let the large crowd down. The lead seesawed throughout the final quarter with Falcons players Jerry Everett, Michael Johnson, Sean Dennis and Bill Jones doing a lot of work, and Scott Fisher and Tim Dillon trying to keep the Giants in touch. But the Falcons could smell a win, and despite enormous pressure from the Giants, were able to grab the ascendancy in the closing stages to win 125-120. Jerry Everett was outstanding for the Falcons with 49 points, and Scott Fisher grabbed 45 points and 10 rebounds for the Giants. After a miserable start to the season, the Falcons showed last night they will still be a thorn in the side of the rest of the teams in the NBL this year.
Arthur Wade is almost an institution in New South Wales politics. He served as MLA for Newcastle for 20 years and says he has no argument with the Labor Party, but rather the people in the machine.
I've got no problems with the ALP as such. It's people within it. Some of the stupidity that we have running the place.
Although not officially contacted, Mr Wade believes his expulsion follows his public criticism of the then ALP candidate for Port Stephens, Bob Martin, during the by-election last year.
I've always believed that if I've got something right and I think I should say it, I'll say it, and I've said it. And I'm now paying the supreme sacrifice for that.
Inundated with calls of support today, the 70-year-old politician says he will continue his community work for the people of Newcastle.
It's good to see that someone appreciates what I've done for them over the years.
I think it's a sad day, and I think it's the sort of thing that's an internal party matter. It's a very sad day for the Labor Party when people take bad advice from people and step outside the party, and that's what's sad.
At a Labor seminar in Newcastle, leader Bob Carr said Arthur Wade had broken party ranks and got what was coming to him.
It's really very predictable that the Labor Party is going to take disciplinary action.
Political infighting aside, Labor politicians worked together today on a technology in industry seminar at the Hunter Technology Centre. According to Bob Carr, speaking with prominent members of the education and science fields gives his party a strong platform to build policies for the 1990s. Mr Carr says the Hunter will feature strongly in economic development strategies. Peter Ryan reporting, NBN News.
The match was played at a furious pace, and it was the Seagulls who opened the better. And in the 11th minute, captain coach Peter Walsh dummied, swivelled, and went to his right where he found Trevor Tuckle, and Tuckle touched down to give Lakes first points. Only 2 minutes later, Lakes were in again with Walsh the main instigator. It went out across the back line where winger David Grant did well to put the ball down over the line, and Lakes led North Nelson Bay by 10 points to 0. Michael Varnum kicked a penalty to get the Bay on the board, and then they scored a great try. With 6 tackles to go after getting the ball back from an up and under, Steve Villette threw a long pass to Michael Wilton and he scored in the corner. Varnum helped the Bay cause with a great conversion, and it was 10-8 in favour of Lakes at half-time. Early in the second half, Lakes were down to 11 men after Grant and Pittman were sin-binned, and a penalty in the 14th minute levelled the scores. And Chris Cuthbertson made the hit of the day on Grant's return to the field. The Bay led 12-10 after Varnum was successful with a penalty, but with 1 minute left in the game, the brilliant Peter Walsh crossed for the try that gave Lakes an upset win over North Nelson Bay.
Plans were revealed today for a 5-star international hotel to be established at Charlestown by the end of next year. Full details tonight.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Good afternoon, I'm Darren Curtis. The pollution battle continues on Newcastle beaches today. These men have collected 45 syringes in just 15 minutes from Burwood Beach.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
There are about 40 students and teachers from China studying at the university. They listened all night to the unfolding tragedy in their homeland, and this morning they rallied together to do what little they could to support their families and friends. Despite the appalling massacre, they believe there is more heartbreak to come.
Even there's a lot of people are still on the street. They're not frightened. I think they are going to fight, because in China, for the ordinary people, if there is not democracy, then it's no future. I mean, they'd rather die.
The students say they can be more effective in influencing the political power struggle in China from abroad rather than at home.
At least we can appeal to the public in general outside China to condemn the criminal activity of the authority in Beijing, and to condemn.
The under-17 Union players, Brendan Lowndes, Steve Hector, Adam Houston, Jason Armstrong, Anthony Watson, Jeremy Sargent and Ben Ryan have been selected in the New South Wales team to play Queensland as a prelude to the British Lions versus the Anzacs Clash at Ballymore on July the 23rd. In Australian rules, the Newcastle Black Diamond team has taken out the annual Northern Division Country Championship. They defeated North Coast in the final 10-7-67 to 5-10-40. They will now play the winner of the Southern Division at the SCG in July. And Newcastle Austral scored a great 2-0 win over Intermonaro in Canberra yesterday. Brett Porter scored in the 20th minute, and Big Doug Elphick got the second a couple of minutes later. The postponed Broadmeadow race meeting will go ahead tomorrow, and let's have a look at Gary Harley's tips. In the first leg of the daily double, Gary likes number 4, Spoiled Planet, and in the second leg, number 3, Sylvius. For the trifecta, 3, 4 and 9, Sylvius, Numerator and Spanish Rebel.
$6,000 students from schools as far as Dubbo, Tamworth and Dunedoo joined with Hunter Valley school leavers in the open day. Students sat in on lectures and practical demonstrations throughout the day. It was a day designed to teach the students that college life is not regimented and that they must develop initiative to complete studies and homework without becoming distracted by all the social niceties the institution has to offer. Organisers also announced 7 new courses that will be offered for the first time to undergraduates next year. These include nutrition and dietetics, computing science, Asian studies and occupational therapy. However, the visitors were told of the biggest drawback in college life, tax. University leaders spoke on how the graduate tax is enforced and what it will mean to prospective students. Darren Curtis for NBN News.
Around 45 mining operations were represented today as part of a series of national meetings on award restructuring and amalgamation. Up for discussion were several unresolved matters that have emerged from restructuring talks, including annual leave, long service leave and sick leave. John Maitland, General President of the Miners' Federation, said the workers must examine whether the third stage of the process, which begins at the end of this month, will benefit them now and in the future. The aim of restructuring is to reorganise awards so they reflect more fully modern conditions.
the very first caucus meeting I attended, the party leader, Bob Carr, said to that caucus, "It is the responsibility of the Parliamentary Labor Party to listen to and deliver what the Labor movement wants."
A 7-part resolution compiled for the rally demanded consultation with unions over workers' compensation and called for continuing industrial action in support of that aim. The more objectionable elements of the government's new legislation are the abolition of coverage while travelling to and from work and changes to common law rights. The union movement is demanding a return to the compensation system in existence before 1987. To reinforce the demand, the unionists marched from the Workers' Club along King Street to the office of the member for Newcastle, George Keegan. While the rally was a lunchtime stop work, it was left up to individual employee groups to decide if they returned to work or went home afterwards.
Hunter Region schools participating in the Hart Foundation's Jump Rope for Half is nothing unusual. Neither is raising a lot of money. But most schools are a lot larger than Coal Point Public. With only 200 students, each raise more than $2,000. And that's certainly reason to jump for joy. Jump Rope for Heart is a national program that promotes skipping as part of a healthy lifestyle, as well as raising money for thousands of Australians who suffer heart disease. The children gain sponsors, and in the weeks leading up to the jump-off learn a number of skipping skills, including double dutch, gypsy doodle and side swing, showing there's a lot more to skipping these days than just jumping a rope.
HMAS Sydney presented an impressive profile as she slipped into Newcastle Harbour in the grey afternoon light. This is one of the RAN's most powerful ships. The 4 guided missile frigates are equipped with a phalanx rapid-fire gun for close-in defence, a 76mm deck gun and a forward-mounted missile launcher. 2 more of the high-powered frigates will soon join the 4 in operation. They are being built at Melbourne's Williamstown Dockyard. HMAS Melbourne was launched a month ago. Sydney recently completed a major refit program to increase the hangar and deck space, enabling the ship to operate a Seahawk helicopter. The ship was lengthened and, to cope with the extra weight and stress, she now wears distinctive strengthening bands along her sides. The crew are in Newcastle for a 3-day rest period following intense sea trials. Commander Russell Shoulders says they are expecting to attract great interest, but warns the Anzac ships will not look exactly like the Sydney.
Sydney is slightly larger than what the Anzac ship will be. Sydney has slightly more capability than the Anzac ship, and we do carry a few more people. So, in a sense, this is a larger and more capable unit than what I believe the Anzac ship will be.
HMAS Sydney will be open for inspection from 2 to 5 Saturday, Sunday and Monday.
Michelle has been a student at the Language Institute in Beijing for nearly 2 years. She was supposed to return home next month, but her exchange has been abruptly abandoned because of the tense situation in Beijing. Michelle says the earlier demonstrations in Tiananmen Square were peaceful, and no one ever thought the fight for freedom would end up the way it is.
But they were peaceful demonstrations. They were peaceful demonstrations calling for a few bureaucratic changes and end to corruption, democracy, and just bringing in the army and squashing all that and squashing all the people's hope for change. Really just shocked people, basically. Yeah. No one ever thought it would happen.
According to Michelle, word spread quickly of the massacre.
I found out on campus that night as it was happening because students were riding frantically back on their bicycles to the schools, getting on the loudspeakers. The students' organisation had loudspeakers set up in the school, and they were broadcasting news direct. And some were bringing back tapes and playing them over the loudspeakers, you know, what was happening in Tiananmen Square.
Michelle believes the deaths of their friends have only spurred the students on, and they'll never give up their struggle for democracy.
So it's a mixture of fear and a mixture of more desperation, where do you go now, and determination too. I mean, they're not going to stop, they're still out there setting up roadblocks.
Lake Macquarie Mayor Ivan Welch says that all newborn babies should get a baby tree of their own to commemorate their birth. Those born June 1 or later are eligible for a council tree. Bubs and buds met for the first time today. Alderman Bob Toosas and Mayor Welch handed over the first of the family trees to the tiny snugglepot and cuddle pies. Neville and Curtis's attitudes were to simply take it or leave it. But the root of the matter is that in a decade or so, these tiny saplings will have a healthy-sized sprig of their very own. Belmont Hospital resembled a forest in the making. These three, or perhaps more correctly named tree babies, are the beginning of a Lake Macquarie flora proliferation. Nurseryman Bill Whalen is stumped. He says this could well be a baby of forest boom in the making.
What better place for a trade fair and boat show than on one of the state's most popular waterways, Wallace Lake at Foster-Tuncurry. Locals got into the spirit of things with a series of boat races, dragon style. The 14-metre craft competed in a number of races over a 500-metre course. More fun on the water with jet ski demonstrations. Lance Turnley put his 550cc machine through its paces. Even the pros, it seems, have problems. Well, back on dry land, more acrobatics, this time from 20 Navy physical training instructors. For others, it was time to relax and explore trade exhibits, arts and crafts and Sideshow Alley. 6-year-old Daniel Thompson had his sights on other things. This miniature racing bike would be handy for school. Keeping a commanding view of things was NBN's John Church.
Don't mind mixing it up with the boys?
No, it's fun.
Yeah?
It's fun.
Yeah?
It's great.
Well done. Congratulations. Good.
The festival continues over the long weekend.
Even in the dreadful conditions, the first half was played at a furious pace and the standard of football was excellent. It was Australs who would drive in to attack, and just as quickly it would be Canberra racing forward to put pressure on the Austral defence. And it wasn't until 4 minutes before half-time the replacement player Zoran Van Zeddy scored a sensational goal for the visitors. Looking to cross the ball into the penalty area, he hit it better than expected and it sailed over Craig Carter's head and into the back of the net. In the 67th minute, controversy broke. Australs appealed for a handball on the edge of the box, but the referee ruled that the linesman had signalled offside. From the free kick, Canberra drove the ball deep, and the number 9 Marko Peranovic finished beautifully to give his team an unassailable 2-0 lead. The boys from the capital should have gone further ahead shortly after, but a gallant Australs pulled one back when 18-year-old Dean McWhirter trapped the ball and knocked it into the back of the net. In the feature race of the day at the Queen's Birthday Powerboat Championships on Lake Macquarie, Rod Clinch driving Repeater came to grief when his boat dug in rounding a corner and he was trapped for a short time underwater. It all ended well for Rod as he was unhurt, and Steve Brown in the supercraft Maureen ran away with the Ken Waggett Memorial Race. Just Desai was second, followed by Cut Loose. The Northern New South Wales Amateur Soccer Association wound up their branch championships at 7 venues today, and in the under-16s at Valentine, Central Coast finished on top from Macquarie, Newcastle, Lismore and Hunter districts. At Tubemakers, where the under-14s were held, Central Coast were also the winners. In the Harold Matthews Cup, the Newcastle Knights won both games today against Group 10 12-4, and then they thumped Moree by over 40 points to qualify for tomorrow's consolation playoffs. The final of the Matthews Cup, the SG Bull and Jersey Flegg Cups will be played at the International Sports Centre tomorrow.